during my lifetime. I have dedicated myself to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideals of a democratic free society in which all persons live in harmony and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
You have been found guilty of sabotage and conspiracy against the state. In the case of accused number 1, Nelson Mandela, the sentence is life imprisonment. Accused number 2, Walter Sisulu, life imprisonment. Accused number 3, Dennis Goldberg, life imprisonment. Govan Mbeki, life imprisonment. Ahmed Kathadra, life imprisonment. Andrew Mlangeni, life imprisonment. Raymond Mhlaba, life imprisonment. Elias Motsoaledi, life imprisonment.
No tribal tongues. Speak English or Afrikaans only. Discuss only personal matters. We have a list of the members of your family. If we hear a name that's not on the list, we will stop you.
Are you well? Have you been eating?
I am fine, Nelson. And you?
Fit as a fiddle. Her children?
Zinani is at boarding school in Swaziland.
Be sure and tell her that I said she must get good grades.
I shall.
How is Zinzi?
Stop.
Who is Zinzi?
It's a nickname, short for Zinzuiza, our younger daughter.
Proceed.
The extended family in the Transkei are well. All the elders send their love.
Contact them as often as you can, and send them my love, too.
I almost forgot to tell you about your garden.
Oh, my garden. How is it?
Thriving more than ever. New buds taking root every day.
Very good, very good.
Stray dogs rampage through it daily, but after a while it takes root again and continues to grow.
Oh, Winnie, it is so good to see you.
So good.
Any word from Tambo in Zambia?
She's got any news from Dennis Goldbeck? No. What news of your garden?
The ANC is getting new recruits every day. Young, strong ones.
And the stray dogs?
Government informers and police raids are everywhere.
Yes.
But they have not stopped us. And they won't.
Elsewhere in the township, vehicles were hijacked and burned. Impromptu barricades were aflame all over, though most of the trouble seemed to be caused by the young.
We're having rocket-proof fencing built around every strategic site in the country. But there's no guarantee that this will stop the ANC.
Who's behind these attacks? Mandela?
He's the resourceful man, Mr. President. We can't afford to ignore his capabilities.
We suspect he's still somehow getting messages out to Oliver Tambo and the rest of the exiles.
But it's more than that, sir.
More than that?
Yes.
Yeah, the people in the townships are calling Robben Island Mandela's University now.
What is this? The Mandela Admiration Society. Now stop your whining and do something about the man.
Pack your things. All of you.
Pack our things.
Out. Out. Except Mosawedi and Mbeki. You've got 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Dearest Winnie, I am writing you from Poltmore Prison and outside of Cape Town. We have been very quickly removed by the government from Robben Island for fear that our political views would contaminate the majority of the prisoners there. We have been moved to an isolation cell on the roof of the Poltmore prison, and here we will be completely isolated away from the other 1,000 inmates here.
My husband and the others are imprisoned because they demand justice. We, who are on the outside, express our solidarity with them. They suffer for us, and we speak for them. We will not be silent. We will shout our defiance to the world. And the world will stand with us. Viva ANC, viva!
thought you'd like to read about your wife.
So, how is Zenny's baby?
Sergeant Gregory, I thought you were still on the island.
I've been here for quite a while, actually. I suppose somebody upstairs thought it was best.
And you remembered my grandson.
Being a prison censor does that to you. I've read so many of your letters, I started feeling like family after a while.
I'll always be grateful to you for showing me how to get around the censorship rules. Other warders were never so gracious.
Well, I didn't want to bother you. Just wanted to let you know that I was around and say hello.
Nelson Mandela is absolutely indispensable for peace in Southern Africa. We, all of us, the world needs Nelson Mandela. Do you agree? Campaign with us for the release of Nelson Mandela and all our political leaders now.
President, excuse me, sir, but there has been protest action in capital cities all over Europe and America. We can't go on ignoring...
Communist agitators. Ignore them. Mr. President, I can increase the number of informants in the townships. All we have to do is find the ringleaders. The problem is there are just so many of them.
Don't tell me your problems, Barnard. Just do what's necessary.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, there have been suggestions that...
Suggestions?
Well,
about what?
Well, it's thought that a possible course of action to solve all these problems might be to talk to Mandela, sir.
Mandela? Yes, sir.
Moenie kaf praat nie, man.
The raid, coming only 3 weeks after South Africa's abortive attack inside Angola, marks a dangerous escalation of violence in the region. It also puts paid to Pretoria's latest peace initiative for Southern Africa. Peter Sharp, News at 1 in Gaborone.
Word has it that the government has attacked ANC targets in Maseru and Maputo. Hundreds were killed. Did we retaliate?
Yes.
Our youth have blown up a section of a Kubak nuclear station.
Our people are angry. They want more. They want to see blood. They want to see white people suffer the way we suffer.
The youth are no longer willing to make a distinction between military whites and civilian whites. Some of them have been heard to say, one settler, one bullet.
It's imperative that we talk to him, sir.
I don't want to hear any more about the man.
He is a leader of his peoples, Mr. President. And as you well know, he's the highest-ranking member of the ANC still on South African soil.
And need I remind you, in prison, where he will remain.
You have to help me change his mind, Evia.
I have to support his position, Kobe. How can we negotiate with terrorists?
We've got to break through this concept of terrorism.
Kobe, I didn't know you were sitting around the same campfire with Mandela.
I'm not the only one who feels this way.
Yeah, maybe, but why talk to me? I'm no reformist.
Yes, but you have no agenda, Evia. People on both sides will listen to you. At least give it some thought.
Listen, the National Party is all that stands between us and anarchy in this country. We can't afford another split in the party, Corby. It would mean the end. Do you want a messiah? You'll have to knock on someone else's door.
Why all the concern about these white civilians? You know that the armed struggle can't discriminate between military targets and soft targets.
Soft targets? You mean women and children?
Black women and children are being killed by the government every day. Who weeps for us?
What is it?
It's certainly not a good time for this to happen to Mandela.
Ah, nonsense. It's of no consequence. And An enlarged prostate gland. Gus Caselta did the diagnosis. He's a Jew boy, but they tell me not a bad urologist. He says he has to remove part of the gland straight away.
Yes, but there's this trouble with the townships. The ANC has never been so active. International sanctions are spreading like feldfire.
These
And
are
now,
merely
Mr.
inconveniences. They cannot last. We must be steadfast, gentlemen.
And now, Mr. Mandela is in hospital. He is older than both of us, Mr. President. If he should die, he would...
It would be a thorn plucked from our flesh.
He would be a martyr. His name would be a rallying cry for our enemies here and around the world.
You attach too much importance to the man.
Mr. President, now is the time to sit down with Mandela.
Listen. I am the president of this nation. And Mandela, he is a terrorist. He might be educated. He might be a tribal princeling. But he has been found guilty of treason against the state. And you say I must sit down and exchange pleasantries with this man?
The presidency need not become directly involved, sir. The entire matter can be handled quietly and discreetly.
Well, tell me how.
Mr. Mandela.
Mr. Coetzee?
No, please don't. Don't bother, not on my account.
I am very seldom rendered speechless, but I must confess I hardly expected a visit from the Minister of Justice. To what do I owe the honor, Minister Coetzee?
Yeah, well, it's not really a visit. It's just that I was in the vicinity.
You were in the vicinity?
A friend of mine, down the corridor. I trust you are recovering.
Oh, I trust so too.
Well, if there's anything you need.
My needs are few, Minister Coetzee, and simple. But chief among them is the need for more information.
Yeah, well, that's a difficult one, you know.
I understand.
Yes, I think you do. Excuse me, Mr. Mandela. I must go.
Your friend calls?
We'll meet again.
But, Matiba, where are they taking you?
They're giving me a little piece from you fellows, my own cell.
Their plan is to isolate you from your comrades.
Matiba, what are they up to? They have a plan. They must have a plan. They never do anything without a reason.
If they have a plan, do you think they would confide in me? All they told me is that I was being moved.
They gave you no hint? No clue, Matiba?
None.
And you have no suspicion?
If they hope that by isolating me they will further their ambitions, then they are mistaken.
I've been ordered to Cape Town on government business. Would you like to make the trip with me?
I don't think that's a very funny joke, Sergeant.
I'm not joking. Orders from on high. So, what do you think?
I had forgotten everything but the details.
Would you like a cool drink? Something to eat, maybe?
Do you think my body would stand it, Sergeant?
I'll be back in a minute. Here you go. Haven't had one of those in a long time, eh?
Yes. Long time. Long time.
This is not the visiting room. What is going on?
It's all right, Mrs. Mandela. Please, sit down. Please. Mr. Mandela, I'll call when your time is up.
Are you leaving us alone, Sergeant?
Government orders.
I can't believe it. It's been 20 years. 20 years since I've held you like this.
What is this game they play now? Where is the bag?
Nothing we could say would surprise them. For years they have known full well what we think.
Yes.
They took me on. I suppose it was a picnic in Cape Town.
A what?
A ride into town. I think they want me to get acquainted with life out there.
Oh, I think they want to seduce you.
It's working. I believe they are signaling that they are ready to talk.
Oh, Madiba. Don't trust them.
It is a dangerous path, but I must tread it. Hello, Mrs. Gregory. I am Nelson Mandela. Thank you for inviting me into your home.
Won't you come in, Mr. Mandela? You have such a wicked sense of humor, Mr. Mandela.
And you cook an excellent meal, Mrs. Gregory.
Thank you.
No wonder your husband reports for work in such a good mood.
Can I talk now?
Hey.
What is it, young man?
Is it really true you're a prince?
Yes, it is true.
I'll bet you had lots of servants waiting on your hand and foot.
Well, it wasn't quite that way for me.
My father makes me do chores when I want to go out and play with my friends.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, we all have our chores around the house. Even parents. Even princes.
You had to do chores?
Of course. When I was a little boy, just about your age. My mother sent me to the home of my uncle, who was the king. My father had just died, and his brother, the king, followed the custom of our people and took me in. Once in the house of the king, I had to go through rigorous training to one day become an advisor to my uncle and later to my cousin, who would one day himself become king.
You must have felt like the luckiest boy in the whole wide world.
Yes, going to school, being taught the ways of the court, yes. But my other duty was a big job for a little person. I had to iron the pants of my uncle for each state visit and ceremonial occasion. Those pants had to be perfectly ironed and pressed each time. If they were not, I had to go over and over and over them until they were right.
But you were the prince. Couldn't you get the servant to do that for you?
No. Because ironing my uncle's pants was my duty, and I stuck to it. That is what one does when one is given a responsibility and a trust. Ironing those pants taught me to be patient. And it taught me to focus myself on a single task. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I think I understand.
Good. Dear Minister Coetzee, there can be no doubt in your mind that the situation in our country has become untenable. Strikes, agitation in the streets, and armed resistance have not abated despite your best efforts. The black people of our country are harboring a great grievance. As an executive member of the ANC and as a patriot who loves his country, I implore the government to sit down with members of our movement and face to face discuss ways in which we can bring an end to the terrible torment and suffering in South Africa.
Just give this back to Coetzee.
So tell me, you think Mandela grows desperate?
I think Mandela grows, Mr. President.
And I say Mandela grows old. He senses God beckoning. He's running out of time, Barnard, and that suits us very well indeed.
Mr. Mandela, it's a pleasure. Johan Kykendall, aide to the President. Step inside.
The point is, Mr. Kykendall, the time has come for negotiations. What is it that is stopping your government from sitting down and talking to us?
But surely, Mr. Mandela, that is what we are doing, isn't it?
You are a civil servant, Mr. Kykendall, no more. And I am not authorized to negotiate for the ANC. Your government must go to Lusaka, or they will have to invite Lusaka here.
P.W. Botha going to Lusaka, speaking to Tambo. That's impossible. And you know it.
I do not think you appreciate the dynamics of this meeting, Mr. Kykendall. I am an executive member of the ANC, and you are a conduit. It is not your place to tell me what is possible or not possible.
Mr. Mandela,
you will understand clearly three things and communicate them to your masters.
I don't think you appreciate where I'm coming from.
One, I am not the head of the ANC, nor am I, in the current instance, its emissary? I do what I do, knowing full well the risks I run of being repudiated. 2, we can only continue this dialogue if your government demonstrates its willingness to take a few risks of its own. The road to peace is precipitous, and if we are to travel it together, we must all share the risks involved. 3, I believe that this is your government's last chance for a peaceful settlement before the arms struggle reaches a point of no return. Ignore it, and I believe our country will be laid waste in a war of attrition from which no victor will emerge.
Mr. Mandela, I can assure you that
Tell them.
Mandela.
Dear. Comrades, I want you to know that my isolation has afforded me a certain clarity.
I'm glad that you derive some benefit from it, because we haven't.
Certain developments have taken place that I must report to you.
From your isolation cell?
I wasn't always isolated.
I knew it. Who did you see? Porter?
Coetzee.
Coetzee.
And a number of others.
And you have not informed Tambo, the Central Committee. You've gone too far, Nelson. These meetings of yours with this government have compromised the ANC.
It was an opportunity, and I grasped it.
Yes, but whose opportunity? Yours or the regime's? Nelson, do you know what they could do with this? Every meeting you've held, every contact could be turned to their own benefit.
Imagine the headlines. Mandela in talks with government. It would be a propaganda coup, and at the very most, it would split us down the middle.
I am not a child, Andrew. These thoughts have obviously occurred to me.
Aye, Madiba. You're treading on dangerous ground here.
Since when has the ANC flinched from danger? I speak with the regime to enhance the aims of our organization.
Yeah, but in secret. That's the problem, Madiba.
Shh. I risk my reputation on my strong belief that the regime speaks from a position of weakness. We have got them on the ropes. Now, do we fight for another decade? Do we spill the blood of thousands more of our children to achieve what can easily be accomplished across a table? I'll be letting Tambo know what I have done, and I will seek his endorsement. But until then, I want you to know that I intend to continue on this path.
And with another funeral due to take place in a neighboring township tomorrow, the violence is not expected to end. Cedric Scott, ITN, Johannesburg.
What does the world want of me? Who is it to abolish petty apartheid? P.W. Botha, that's who. Who drove the Cubans back in Angola? My army did. Who fought the communists in Mozambique? I did. And what recognition does the West give me? They nag, they whinge, they send me diplomatic communiques. Negotiate, they say. And who must I negotiate with? A bunch of blacks running amok in the townships? A bunch of terrorists sitting in jail where they belong? Look at this. France, Germany, Japan, they're all against me. I'm telling you, gentlemen, if it wasn't for Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, South Africa would have no friends in the world at all.
Mr. President, if it is a bold stroke the world wants, then you may be holding the solution to your problems in your hands.
It is my intention to release Nelson Mandela from prison if he will promise unconditionally to reject violence as a political instrument.
Sir.
Mr. President. It is therefore not the South African government which stands in the way of Mandela's release. It is Mr. Mandela himself.
Mr. Mandela, we are offering to set you free. You can go home and be with your family.
Unbanner the ANC. Begin direct negotiations with our leader, Oliver Tambo. Immediately.
Renounce the violence and you can go home. That is what we can offer you, Mr.
Your
Mandela.
president must see our point of view.
He doesn't have to do anything. He is the president, and you have got his final offer.
In that case, advise President Botha that he will have my answer soon.
You see what he's doing? Mandela is making us wait. By the way, thank you for keeping me informed.
He'll agree to terms, I think. He's a logical man.
Look what he's done. He's stolen the spotlight from the government. It's pointing directly at him now, and the whole world is waiting for his answer. It's not bad for a prisoner who's been cut off from the world for 22 years.
Winnie Mandela is in internal exile, banned as a non-person, forbidden to speak publicly. She should be standing here before you.
Viva Winnie Mandela, viva!
Viva! But since she cannot, it falls on me to read my father's reply to President Botha's offer of freedom from prison. I am a member of the African National Congress.
Viva ANC, viva!
Viva! I have always been a member of the African National Congress. And I will remain a member of the African National Congress until the day I die. I cherish my own freedom dearly, but I care even more for your freedom. Too many have died since I went to prison. Too many have suffered for the love of freedom. I am not less loving than you are. But I cannot sell my birthright, nor am I prepared to sell the birthright of my people to be free. What freedom am I being offered while the organization of the people remains banned? What freedom am I being offered to live my life as a family with my dear wife who remains banished in Brandfort? I cannot and will not give any undertaking at a time when I and you, the people, are not free. Your freedom and mine cannot be separate.
Yeah!
I will return. Viva Nelson Mandela, viva!
Viva!
Viva Union, viva!
Viva!
Haleluya, Afrika!
Itoi! Imandi! Itoi! Imandi! This is Buana! The Fama! This is Buana! The Fama!
Responsible South Africans have taken note of the conditions of violence and lawlessness which have become endemic in many parts of the country. The government has thus far shown the utmost patience with regard to the tide of anarchy that has swept across our country. But the situation cannot be tolerated any longer. Therefore, in terms of the Public Safety Act of 1953, I hereby declare a state of emergency.
Good evening. The black townships in South Africa are under curfew tonight after the shooting dead of at least 17 black demonstrators by police this morning. Dozens more people were injured. The official government figure for the number killed is 17, but local people say the real total is nearer 50. The police opened fire with or without warning is not clear as a crowd of black demonstrators marched along the road out of Uitenhage.
My baby!
Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Zambia.
The ANC has bases at these locations in all 3 countries. We will destroy these bases and with them the ANC's ability to stage armed attacks against South Africa. Our target date is May 19th.
Military action may not be stepped away.
We have an opportunity to strike at an enemy that has sworn to destroy us. As far as negotiations go, Mr. President, when these missions succeed, you will be in a position to negotiate with an enemy that no longer exists.
Magnus, proceed with your preparations. Thanks. That'll be all, gentlemen. Thank you. De Klerk, I would have valued your support.
I thought you were very clear about the direction that you wish to go in, Mr. President.
I said I would have valued your active support.
Mr. President, you always have my active support. But to do this on the very day of a possible major diplomatic breakthrough...
Not every political decision is
That was
taken.
a military decision. Military victories do not always mean political ones. Ask the Americans about their experience in Vietnam.
So, you're on the side of appeasement now?
I'm not on any side, Mr. President.
You're testing my faith in you, De Klerk. We will implement the destruction of ANC bases immediately.
Is not going back to Brandfort.
She is in violation of her banning orders merely by being in Soweto. Huh? I can't change the law to suit you or your family or my family for that matter.
No, you cannot, but you do have some discretion in how it is enforced. I trust you will exercise that discretion in reaching a just and proper decision.
I can't make any promises.
Let me put it another way, Mr. Coetzee. We know that your troubles are multiplying.
Don't begin with that tack again.
We know about the raids, the police crackdowns. Every day, the cells of your jails grow more and more crowded with angry and defiant young men. It is an irreversible tide you are opposing. You and I are talking because we believe the future will be very different than the past. With that in mind, I urge you to treat my wife humanely. Do you understand me?
I will see what I can do. But that's all I'm saying, Mr. Mandela.
Do your best. Our country is running out of time.
Overnight, 7 men were shot dead by police who say they opened fire when rioters attacked black policemen's homes with petrol bombs.
Tension in the black townships on the East Rand has been rising for weeks. Today, only hours after the overnight shooting, the call went out to mourn and bury 4 young blacks who died mysteriously in hand grenade explosions a fortnight ago. Local people had called for a stay away from work, and several thousands went into a local sports stadium for the funerals.
These terrorists will run out of steam, I assure you.
When do you think their steam will run out?
Just give it time.
Time is beginning to run out, I'm afraid.
You driving at something, De Klerk. Out with it. Yes, what?
Sir, you better read this.
The Congress of the United States has voted to institute economic sanctions against us. Our friend, Mr. Reagan, who you said understood us so well, will sign the bill into law.
It is of no consequence. We will not be bullied.
If it was simply a matter of being bullied, there would be no problem. I would welcome the attention. But the world has decided that South Africa doesn't exist.
Then that is their delusion.
Economic sanctions from the most powerful nation in the world is no delusion, Mr. President.
Stand firm with me, gentlemen. For our fatherland, for God's sake.
The uniform of our oppressors, wear the necklace of the people's justice. Viva! We have to face this government's mighty weapons of destruction to gain our freedom. Viva! We have no guns, only stones, boxes of matches and petrol. But with our boxes of matches, hand in hand together, we shall liberate this country!
Winnie, have you lost your mind?
I said what needed to be said. I have no regret.
Well, you should. Our movement is based on the moral strength of our ideas and our ideals. There is nothing moral about dousing a man with petrol and burning him to death in the middle of the
Nor
street.
is there anything moral about impimpies. These traders and informers in our neighborhood who have turned our lives into hell.
You will never, ever jeopardize this movement. Our family and your life with this kind of ill-conceived outburst. Do you hear me?
Yes. I hear that you are telling me I cannot speak my own mind.
I am telling you that you are not an individual. You do not speak for yourself. You speak for the African National Congress. You speak for a cause of freedom, justice, and equality for all people. And you speak for Nelson Mandela. And you will not bring harm or dishonor to all we have worked for with these kind of incendiary and intemperate remarks. Are we clear? Are we clear?
Yes. We are.
Are you all right? I'm fine. Fine.
Good God, man.
I'm afraid I'm not as strong as I
Mandela! He has tuberculosis. They have to operate.
TB.
Oh, no.
You don't cure TB by operating on it.
He has fluid on his lungs.
Good evening, Mr. Mandela. Are you ready?
Let's get it over with, Doctor.
Something wrong, Mr. Mandela?
I was just thinking, how do I know that under that mask of yours, you are not really President Botha? Sergeant. Finally, you have come to fetch me.
Yes, I have. You're looking good.
Thank you. I hope they missed me back there.
We certainly did, I can assure you of that.
It will be nicer to see my old friends again.
I'm not going to be seeing them for a while, I'm afraid.
Why? What happened?
You're not going back to Polsmoor. Orders.
Where are they sending me?
You've got complete run of the house, including the swimming pool. There's a TV, stereo, and access to as many newspapers, magazines, and books as you like. Uncensored. You'll receive all your mail here. Censored, I'm afraid. All the creature comforts of home, including more frequent and unsupervised family visits. So, what do you think, eh?
Tell your president I appreciate my new home. And he should come and visit me in it sometime.
Is he ready? Just a minute. He'll be ready in a minute. Here we go. It's your jacket.
First class service.
No.
I like it.
The tie won't work. Here.
Oh, Windsor March. I much prefer them. Much prefer.
Okay, let's go. Good luck.
Wait.
What?
Your shoelaces.
Ah.
Forgive me, I had forgotten. It's been 25 years since I've been ordered dressed up like this.
Please come.
Thank you. Mr. Mandela. Mr. Mandela, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you President P.W. Botha.
Mr. Mandela.
Mr. President.
Please, sit down.
Thank you.
Tea for you?
Thank you.
So, your recovery from tuberculosis has gone well?
Quite. Thank you for asking. And you, I had heard you had had a slight
Stroke, yeah. Some people seem to think it would knock me back a bit. But I showed those young people a thing or two. You know, they call me the groot crocodile.
The big crocodile.
Yeah. But I prefer to think of myself as a bull. An old bull. And in my culture, an old bull is a powerful symbol.
In my Xhosa culture as well, Mr. President.
Well then, we've both shown them what a couple of old bulls can do, huh?
We say that when you yoke two bulls together, they pull hardest when they cooperate, Mr. President.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Mandela, I think you and I have a lot to talk about.
I don't think there is anything we can't solve, Mr. President.
Good.
To start, I would like to discuss the possibility of releasing my compatriot Walter Sisulu. The years have not been easy on him.
Yes. Well, I'll have my ministers look to that matter. Rest assured. Is there anything else, Mr. Mandela?
Obviously, there are many matters, Mr. President.
Good. I'm happy to have had this opportunity to meet with you, Mr. Mandela. You're an interesting man.
But, sir, you can't be leaving just yet.
I must, I'm afraid. I have pressing business elsewhere. I only wanted this to be a courtesy meeting anyway. I'm sure you'll understand. Once again, a pleasure.
A 14-year-old boy was found murdered early this morning in the home of Winnie Mandela. Authorities are conducting an investigation to determine the motive and responsibility for his death. Meanwhile, according to police, an autopsy will be performed in accordance with the ongoing investigation.
Tension in the black townships on the East Rand has been rising.
It's very bad. A boy was killed in the house. 14 years old, they say.
Winnie. Was she there?
We don't know.
I think you should arrange for her to come see me. Discuss the matter. Winnie, were you there?
No. I was not, I told you.
Did you know what these young men of yours were doing to the boy?
They are not my young men. They are my bodyguards.
Did you know what they were doing to the boy?
No, I do not want to discuss this. It has nothing to do with me. I gave that boy refuge in my house. That is all. Please, let's just leave it.
I insist that you face it, Winnie.
I knew nothing. Why are you cross-examining me like this? I am innocent. I did not lay a hand on that boy.
I believe you, Winnie.
I trust people too much. That has always been my problem.
No. Your problem is that you trust the wrong people. You have to ask yourself, what did you do to let this evil into your house? This can be a political embarrassment, Winnie. But first and foremost, it is a tragedy. A young boy was murdered.
I knew nothing about it.
Winnie, listen. I have started a process the end of which cannot be predicted. I cannot say what tactics the regime will employ against me. I have to be constantly vigilant. This business about the boy, this tragedy, tugs at my mind, drags me away from where my mind should be. Do you understand? Do you?
I am not like you, Nelson. All analysis and discipline and will. I smash into things. I yell, I scream, I cry. I make mistakes. Stomby was a mistake.
That is not good enough, Winnie. This was not merely a mistake. A boy died in your house. These bodyguards of yours, what do they call themselves? The Mandela Football Club. Get rid of them.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Try not to make any more mistakes. Our enemy seize on them and turn them against us.
Please, let's not fight over it. I just have these few moments with you. Let's not spend them fighting. Please.
In what could be the country's biggest ever legal strike. The union has called on 200,000 men at 46 gold and
6
coal.
black railwaymen came after the South African State Railways Company dismissed the 16,000 of their colleagues who refused to return to work after 6 weeks of their national strike.
Other major unions are talking of strikes in support if history repeats itself.
Everybody here?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. President, I'm speaking to you not only as chairman of the party and a member of the cabinet, but as a friend and as an admirer. We have all learned a great deal from you, sir. You are a strong, proud warrior, a defender of the traditions that have made our nation great.
Yes,
and you...
yes. Sit, gentlemen. That's all very fine, but you know and I know that you did not come all the way out here at 8:30 in the morning to flatter me. If you have something to say, then say it.
Sir, you've had 2 strokes within the past year. You've resigned your chairmanship of the National Party, where Mr. De Klerk has replaced you.
Not my choice, but go on.
With respect, sir, we think you should consider playing a more, how should I put it?
You want me to resign?
We think you should appoint an acting president. Take a rest for a while.
If you want me to resign, then say so.
Well, at least until after the elections, sir, by which time you...
Enough! So, this is how you all feel, is it? Answer me. Who agrees with him? So, well, let me tell you what I think of you. You are cowards.
This isn't an argument, Mr. President. We are here to tell you that it's time to stand down.
No, you stand down. And you. You. I should fire all of you. I have the right. I'm still president, you hypocrites.
Mr. President, the country needs new leadership. The failure of the Mandela talks, the failure to resolve the violence in the townships.
All I need is
there
time.
Is evidence of scandal and corruption. Mr. President, there is an election coming up. You asked me to be frank. Well then, sir. You have become a liability to our party.
You go too far.
Will you resign?
Yes. Yes. I will resign. And tonight, I will go on television and announce to the world what a pack of liars and traitors you all are. I'm finished with a lot of you. Liars. All of you. Liars.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. President. May I introduce Mr. Nelson Mandela?
Mr. Mandela, good to meet you.
Aangename kennis, meneer de president.
I'd heard that you spoke fluent Afrikaans, Mr. Mandela.
I haven't had much practice for a while.
Please. Thank you, Minister Coetzee. I've read some of your writings. A speech from the 50s. Your statement prior to your imprisonment in 1964. Please. You are a most eloquent and passionate man, Mr. Mandela.
Thank you. Let us hope that our discourse is marked more by eloquence than passion.
Please, sit down. You understand, I make no promises.
As long as our conversations take us forward.
Well, then, a good sign of progress would be the end of the armed struggle on your side. A commitment to peace.
For now, my willingness to talk is precisely the commitment to peace you seek.
Let me put it this way. I want your guarantee.
Excuse me, Mr. President. I can offer you no guarantee of any kind. I'd have to speak with my colleagues first.
Well, how can that work? Most of your people are officially banned and living in exile.
Of course. But if that is an inconvenience, you can always unban the ANC and let our leaders come home so they can give you their assurances in person.
That's impossible. At this time.
At this time.
I'm a realist, Mr. Mandela. Once my government commits itself to negotiations, both you and I know what the outcome must be.
Free and democratic elections for all people.
I am under no delusions, but I will not countenance power grabbing. Power sharing, yes, but not the blind abandonment of all power.
Majority rule is not power grabbing.
No whites would be comfortable in a country dominated by blacks.
For more than 300 years, you have been dominated by blacks. You have simply never acknowledged that.
We must have some say in the future.
If you are talking about anything lesser than a one person, one vote, it is a non-negotiable item.
The rest of Africa is full of the relics of democracies that gave one man, one vote. Once. Mr. Mandela, everything is negotiable.
I'm sorry, sir. But what you are proposing is nothing less than a transparent attempt to maintain whiter control.
You are being unduly cynical, Mr. Mandela.
That is a matter of opinion, Mr. President.
Well, we will have to change it then. You and I are both going to have to be willing to make some compromises. If we want to set the ground rules, we need to begin negotiations.
Mr. President, I don't mean to flatter you when I say that I sense an integrity here that has not distinguished many of your predecessors. So, yes, I agree.
Good. Then let's begin. I've crossed the point of no return, Corpy. I've embarked on my own perestroika.
Yeah. The trick now is not to suffer the same fate as Gorbachev.
You know that Mandela was once a boxer.
Yeah?
He'll know that you've got to roll with the punches. He'll expect me to give ground, but he can't expect me to commit suicide. I will not go down in history as the man who destroyed his own people.
So, Marika, you and Frederik used to all the pomp and ceremony here.
There's not as much of that around as with Mr. Botha, but it's been quite a year, thank you very much.
I'm very proud of you, Frederik. Whoa.
Thank you, thank you.
And I think how I used to nag you.
Don't stop nagging me now, I've come to rely on it.
What about all the unrest, Frederik? Are you going to maintain this?
Part of the job. It's going to be all right.
But people expect so much of him. You're only one man, Frederik.
Do you remember what the Reverend Bengal said at my inauguration? He who stands in the council chamber of God should be strong in his willingness to pursue the right course and push forward new reforms.
It was quite a sermon.
Yes, but from the pulpit, the world is a simple place. Frederik, you can't change the world overnight. I don't care what anyone says.
It seems to me that there is a just road to be taken. I don't know, some people will hate me for what I'm going to do, but I have to move forward, and I have to believe that my vision of the future isn't simply an accident. The time has come for our nation to take a new course, to bridge the gap between political fantasy and practical reality. As a result, today and henceforth, the policy of social engineering, known as apartheid, will cease to exist. Political prisoners will have their cases reviewed, and the Minister of Justice will determine which prisoners will be freed.
Kathy.
Salagat.
Good. Very well. Nervous?
It's been such a long time, Nelson. Freedom. I always knew it would come, but
I'll be joining you soon.
till then,
Agitate. Old lion, agitate.
Ik wil hier centimeter grond van Gatsabutelesi, ze Zululand heen. Maar ik sta ook die centimeter grond af van die boerenstaat niet. Ik is hier om met die witmensen en die Afrikanerdom te praten waar zijn land van op het schillen.
Marika, I need you to understand what I'm trying to do.
South Africa was given to us by God, Frederik. It's our homeland. And what you are doing frightens me.
It is frightening, I know that. Don't you think I feel that as well? I have to push forward. We don't share this country. We Afrikaners will lose it.
It's not the sharing that frightens me. It's the anger of Ter Blanche and his people. Well, you've read the reports. This could lead to civil war, Frederik. White against white. Brother against brother.
There is only one possible country for both the blacks and the whites of South Africa, and that is the future. The future is where we live from now on, and we have to accustom ourselves to that thought or prepare ourselves for a war without an end.
We fought before. We fought the English.
And we lost. We have to learn from our history. The past no longer works. The present isn't any better, my love. Have faith in me, Marika. I am trying to save our country. I won't give our father's legacies away. Marika.
Mr. President, there's suggestions, sir, that elements of the intelligence community and the army are directly involved in fomenting violence among the blacks.
That is a vicious rumor without any basis in reality.
But Mr. De
I tell you unequivocally, there are no secret government agencies connected in any way with any of these incidents. You have my word on that.
How do you expect me to take these talks seriously when people in your government have armed the Inkatha Freedom Party in KwaZulu-Natal?
That is absolute nonsense. To what purpose?
To neutralize the ANC. What else? By intimidation and assassination, your people have given Inkatha carte blanche to create havoc.
Chief Buthelezi has the overwhelming support of the majority of people in his province. He doesn't need me to whip up support for him.
Then how do they have so many guns?
How does the ANC?
Certainly not supplied by your government.
Damn you, Mr. Mandela, you give a person so little room to maneuver.
I have had very little room to maneuver myself for 2 decades. One learns to adapt.
Those are hardly the words one expects from a retired revolutionary.
Mr. President, if you expect me to go out to pasture upon my release, whenever that is, you are greatly mistaken. If I find conditions are the same as they were the day I was arrested, I will go back to doing precisely those things for which I was imprisoned.
Now that helps no one.
Then unban the ANC and all other political parties on your banning list. Release the political prisoners and allow the exiles to return.
Mr. Mandela, I will take everything that you have said under advisement.
I know. No promises.
I have ordered that the prohibition of the African National Congress, the Pan-African Congress, the South African Communist Party, and 33 other organizations be lifted with immediate effect. As to the position of Nelson Mandela, I will make an announcement within the next few days concerning the date of his release. It is very important to me that discussions with the ANC begin at once. Our troubles have caused us enough pain and suffering. The time for negotiation has arrived. I can't very well carry on important negotiations like these with an inmate now, can I?
Release me? But, I mean, when?
Tomorrow.
Mr. President, tomorrow is much too soon. Please, delay my release.
I beg your pardon?
I don't want to appear ungrateful, Mr. President, but I must insist that you delay any plans for my release.
You're joking, of course.
I need 7 days so my family can prepare for my release. There will be chaos out there if I simply walk out.
Damn it, man, I'm freeing you.
I've waited 27 years. Certainly I can wait 7 more days.
A government plane will take you back to Johannesburg, where you'll be officially released. Please sit down, Mr. Mandela.
Mr. President, I will walk out of the gates of Victor Verster prison in 7 days. And on that date, I will personally thank all those who have looked after me. And I will greet the people of Cape Town.
Now, look here, Mr. Mandela. We have already set your itinerary.
Mr. President, Cape Town has been my home for nearly 30 years. There are people in Cape Town I must...
We have a schedule.
Yes, Johannesburg. Well, I will make my own way back there when I choose, not when the government wants me to. Once I am free, I will look after myself.
Mr. Mandela, we can't change plans now. I've already told the press.
How dare you speak to the press without consulting me?
I'm the president, not you.
I will be released when I say so. And not a day sooner.
Mr. President, maybe we...
All right then. I will agree to Victor Versteer if you will agree to release tomorrow.
I can accept that.
Mr. Mandela, must you fight me on every issue?
Must you, Mr. President?
Hurry up, everybody. We are running late.
Okay. The press will be waiting at the gate for you. SABC TV has asked that you leave the car 100 feet from the gate and walk through the gate.
Is that what they call a photo opportunity?
You are learning fast.
I've known no other great man in my life, Mr. Mandela, but you know what I want to say.
Thank you for your many kindnesses through the years. I know we will meet again.
And we can see the caravan of cars approaching the gates now. Yes, the crowd is beginning to push forward. They've waited many hours for this moment, and the world has waited many years. Nelson Mandela would walk through these gates of Victor Versteer prison to freedom.
My God, so many people.
They love you, Nelson.
I never realized.
He's walking towards the car that would probably take him to Cape Town. Mr. Mandela finally leaving the Victor Versteer prison. His home for the last 14 months.
And in Cape Town, huge crowds waiting in the exhausting summer sun all day for Mr. Mandela's first words to the world at a rally were growing restless.
I will not give our fathers' legacies away. Oh, Frederick, where are the crowds for you now? The man who opened up this brave new era. The man who freed Mandela.
A remarkable scene today at Jan Smuts International Airport as Oliver Tambo, head of the formerly outlawed African National Congress, returned to South Africa after nearly 30 years in exile. Among those gathered to meet him were close colleagues Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Joe Slovo of the South African Communist Party, and Chris Hani. Speculation is that talks will now move swiftly ahead on a negotiated settlement between the government and the leaders of black political organizations. But for most of the people around the world, two men will hold center stage: President F.W. de Klerk and Nelson Mandela.
good beginning.
But only a beginning.
More than 500 blacks have died so far, and more blood was shed this morning in a township near Johannesburg. The violence started after a rally addressed by the Inkatha leader, Chief Buthelezi.
The casualty rate is climbing faster than ever. 100 killed today, over 500 in the past 10 days.
Lies. Lies. We would not kill our own people.
There were no whites present. It was blacks killing blacks. The evidence is clear.
No, not clear. Obscured.
The investigation clearly shows that the ANC was behind
You
it.
sent the fox to investigate the chickens.
For God's sake, Mr. Mandela, what would we possibly gain from massacring innocent people?
You have much to gain. The more fear you sow amongst the people, the more votes you might gain in the elections.
The election? We don't even have a date for any election.
Elections are coming, Mr. President, as we both know. And either you or members of your security establishment are manipulating events.
Manipulating events? Why?
To affect the outcome of those elections.
This is complete nonsense, Mr. Mandela.
All right. Appoint an independent commission to investigate the massacre at Bohibeton. I will abide by their findings.
And if I don't?
You will leave us no choice but to resume the armed struggle.
To know that.
Wait a minute. Now the ANC. Wait a minute. The ANC. We have. Wait a minute. Hold it. We must.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Yes, we are angry and we are full of rage. And we have every right to be. But if I am to pick up my gun and pull the trigger, I want to be damn sure I'm aiming at the right target.
As you requested, Mr. President, the results of the independent British investigation.
And?
They confirmed the ANC's allegations, sir. The police apparently escorted the attackers into the township and then back out again.
The police? I can't believe that the police would...
The reports are consistent, sir. There were 39 people shot, hacked, and stabbed to death. Among them, a 9-month-old baby, a 4-year-old girl, and 24 women. One of whom was pregnant. Of the survivors, nobody would talk to the police. They are convinced that the authorities were involved.
So the ANC is not to blame. Mandela was right. We are responsible. I'm going to the township.
The township?
I want them to know that I care.
That's not a good idea, sir.
There's too much at stake. The talks, my presidency.
Sir, it is...
I am the president of South Africa. I have to be there.
Mr. President. We have to get out.
Driver.
I've been a member of the South African police force for 10 years.
For 5 years, I have attached to a secret organization inside the police force, the C10 unit. We were a hit squad. Our job was to spy on civilian enemies of the state and to commit assassinations when ordered. We delivered money, arms to Buthelez's Inkatha Freedom Party for them to use against the ANC. We were told that our orders were cleared by top government people.
I tell you, I knew nothing.
Don't tell me that. No leader of a nation can claim that sort of ignorance.
My political career is staked entirely on our success, Mr. Mandela. Why would I allow something like this to proceed if I had the slightest...
You chose to see what you wanted to see.
Who are you to accuse me? I have been honest with you.
Turned away from that which you did not.
I staked my career on the success of these negotiations. Now you tell me to use
when it was convenient, simply forgot everything in between. That is true, isn't it?
Think what you will, Mr. Mandela. But I am still the President of South Africa. And I am the one who will determine both our futures.
You will determine nothing, Mr. President. Any leader who chooses to remain blind when vision is what our nation needs is a lost man. A lost man can never lead anywhere.
So what happens now?
In a few days, there will be the usual exchanges of communique and notes between our intermediaries. De Klerk and I will engage in long-distance name-calling in the press, and after that, God only knows. In the meantime, perhaps you and I can find some time for ourselves at last. What is it, Winnie?
These came today. They are charging me with kidnapping and assault of Stompie Sipe.
Walter, you know what this case is about. It is an election ploy. By prosecuting her, they hope to damage me. Why do you think the government waited so long before they brought her to court?
It's a pity she's given them so many opportunities.
Walter, we are all friends, but there is a line.
Even within the ANC, there are those people...
You imagine I care what people think. She is my wife and the mother of my daughters. She has supported me faithfully for 30 years, Walter. I will not abandon her now.
Madiba, you are the father of a nation. A symbol to the entire world. Our country is in turmoil, and the success of our negotiations hangs by a thread.
I will be faithful to her.
Diva, I had not meant to raise this, but there's a letter. Winnie wrote it.
A letter? From Winnie?
In her own handwriting. The press, I'm afraid, have copies. I've persuaded them not to print it before the trial is over. More than that, I could not do.
In finding Mrs. Mandela guilty of kidnapping and assaulting 14-year-old Stompie Sipe, the judge stressed that no connection had been established between the accused and the death of the young boy. Stompie was allegedly killed by members of a football team sponsored by Mrs. Mandela, some of whom also acted as her bodyguards. The police still have not been able to establish a motive for the murder of the young activist. Susan Bayers, SABC TV News, Johannesburg.
They think they have beaten me. I will take their verdict to the appellate division. I have been here before.
Winnie, you are facing 6 years in prison.
Who are they to judge me?
I held on so tightly to the belief in your innocence.
And you can continue. Stompy made his choice. I could not have saved him. No one could.
I didn't even consider the alternatives.
Stompy was a traitor. No one could have saved him, Nelson. No one could. We were at war.
With children?
So I am to be sacrificed. Madiba. I love you. How could you?
Oh, don't say those words to me, Winnie. Not now. Don't use that word to describe what our relationship has been since I was released from prison. This is the early edition of tomorrow's newspaper. Did you think I didn't know? That I couldn't guess? Was he just one more lapse of judgment, or were there others?
So, will you lead, or shall I?
This is your home. I will leave. We will make a simple announcement. We will salvage what dignity we can.
Why must you do this?
Because every cell in my body tells me not to.
The violence happened on a day of mourning for the assassinated black leader Chris Hani.
Demonstrators converged on one of Soweto's main police stations. The police opened fire on the crowd. 3 people died instantly.
Chris died for peace. How should we convince people of peace?
I'm aware that there is little trust between us, Mr. Mandela. You must know that the country is in danger of blowing up in both our faces.
What do you want from me?
Hani's assassination has brought us to the brink of a race war. I can't stop it. The people, the blacks, they won't listen to us. I'm asking you to use all your skills. Say something. Talk to your people, our people. Calm the situation. You're a leader. You have a responsibility to do...
Dare you say that to me? You who coddled Nkata. You who ignored the corruption and venality in your security forces and pleaded ignorance at the complicity of the police force in all of the political murders throughout our country. And now, when your credibility has been destroyed, you come to me.
Think of me what you will, Mr. Mandela. But I love this country, as deeply as you do. This is my home, too. The elections are not far away. I'm asking you to help me preserve what we have built until then.
Tonight, I am reaching out to each and every South African, black and white, from the very depths of my heart. A white man, full of prejudice and hate, came to our country and committed a deed so foul that our whole nation totters on the brink of disaster. But a white woman, an Afrikaner woman, memorized the license plate on his car and risked her life by calling the police and pointing out the killer. This is a watershed moment for all of us. We must, I believe, use our pain, our grief, and our outrage to move forward to what is the only lasting solution for our country. A democratically elected government representing all the people of our country. In that, not more killing, lies the future of our nation. And that is the legacy our fallen son leaves us. We dare not stain it.
South Africa has opened a new chapter in its history. For the first time, 18 million black men and women have begun voting to decide who will run their country.
By early this morning, people who'd already walked miles to get to the polling stations were snaking hundreds of yards through the streets. In the white suburbs, where the pressure was lighter, they bussed black people in from the township. And here, too, there was a great sense of joy.
I was very happy that we're doing the right thing. Today is the new South Africa.
Mandela and the African National Congress have gained 62.6% of the vote and have won in an unprecedented landslide.
We did it. Friend. We finally did it.
We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender inequality, and other discrimination. A rainbow nation at peace with itself and the rest of the world. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom reign. God bless Africa.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good night, Mr. President.
Guilty of sabotage and conspiracy against the state. In the case of accused number 1, Nelson Mandela, the sentence is life imprisonment. Accused number 2, Walter Sisulu, life imprisonment. Accused number
3. During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideals of a democratic free society in which all persons live in harmony and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and achieve.